Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking about what's happening in show business, and one of the biggest stories this week is yet again more panto chaos. It happens every year. Of course, we had the Newcastle tented pantomime go bust. Then we had it happen in Leeds with talent and stars out of work immediately. And then I pick up the paper on Saturday and see that the Bolton panto once again is in chaos. This is a Joe Purdy production. And as we know, over the years, we've had run-ins with this man. Last year, of course, he hired the man with the big penis from Geordie Shore. He had that fella Scotty T doing the pantomime on the poster, and then it turns out, in fact, all he's really doing is a signing at the end of the show. Well, we find out on Saturday that Cinderella wasn't able to go ahead this weekend because Nick Newbold wasn't able to perform. That's because of illness, says Joe Purdy, but joining us on the line is Nick Newbold, who is going to tell us the real story. How are you? I hear you're not well, Nick.
Well, I mean, considering I'm not well and I'm very, very ill and all this, that and the other, I'm doing all right, actually.
I hear by the tone of your sarcasm that actually you're fine and you're not ill, and this is another Joe Purdy cover-up that, frankly, he does all the time, which is his way of getting out of a show not opening on time. You're not ill at all, are you?
No, I'm not ill at all. Well, I mean, saying ill, I did have some anxiety, which was caused by being in that production. And so, yeah, that was, if I was ill, it was probably anxiety that was caused by them. But when people say ill, we all think we're dying with a cold or something like that, and that certainly isn't the case with me.
Well, Joe Purdy Productions sort of insinuated that the reason the show couldn't go ahead on Saturday and Sunday was because you had pulled out due to illness, when in fact you'd left the production and chosen to do so. So just tell me then, how long have you been working with Joe on this production at the Victoria Halls in Bolton?
Well, I came back from... I live in LA and work out there and live there, but I came back in the summer to meet with Joe when he was still having a show on at the Albert Halls in Bolton. And Joe said to me that he was currently waiting to have a contract. I think he was up for tender against Polka Dot for the Albert Halls for Christmas, but he lost the tender due to fallouts with the Albert Halls, and then he won the venue, the Victoria Hall in Bolton, and wanted to do a Christmas show there. I do know that in October, I mean, this wasn't brought to my attention because I'd gone back to the States and wasn't really in the mix in the UK. So, but in between me meeting with him in the summer and agreeing to direct and perform in his show, he put up a show called Alice in Wonderland, which he did in October at the Victoria Hall. Now, just to clarify, the Victoria Hall isn't actually a theatre, it is a hall. And so you have no fly flow or anything.
So there's no rigging, there's no stage, there's no lighting then?
There's nothing. So he had to have something purpose-built, to try and create this show. He did that with Alice in Wonderland, I believe, going back to October. And I know that if people Google it and you look at the press releases about that particular show, I know that was a disaster. And but he did say to the press, and he did say to me, Nick, I had a few issues, but we've ironed those out now, and we're all ready to go for Christmas, which wasn't the case, let me say.
I've had some run-ins with this guy over the years. He's blocked me on all social media because I would ask him questions. My job as a journalist is to say, well, why has the show cancelled? I've never heard of a show cancelling over an actor being ill. So the reason I contacted you yesterday was because I knew that there had to be something bigger going on. You would never, ever cancel two shows over one actor being ill, would you? That just doesn't happen. You weren't just an actor in this, though. You were also the director, I understand.
I was. I mean, I was really, really excited to be able to... I mean, I looked at Joe and thought, he's a young guy. I mean, I've been in the business longer than he's probably been alive.
Well, you've got meat in the freezer older than him, haven't you? Let's face it.
Cheeky bugger. But yeah, so I actually saw it as an opportunity to sort of like help somebody as well in the business who was new to it, who was young, who seemed hungry, who seemed fresh. And And, he had all of these challenges set, and I thought, well, how great that, he wants to work with me, and maybe I can help that company move forward with my experience, as a professional actor, professional panto performer. I thought, great, but it was the beginning of probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had in panto land, put it that way.
Okay, we'll get to why that was the case. Let's go back to then when you signed the deal and you started work with him on what date?
Well, I started work for Joe officially started work for him on the 19th of November. I worked for him and I did the first show up until the 29th of November, and then I left on the 30th.
Okay, so will you be paid for the time that you've already put into the show, which was presumably directing it, making it happen, getting a cast together?
Well, the thing is, I've not received payment as of yet. I received correspondence from Joe saying that I haven't invoiced him on time. Apparently that's how he pays his people, they have to invoice him, and I hadn't been made aware of that until a few days into the rehearsal period. But I was so bogged down with everything that was going on, I didn't really have time to sit there and invoice, and that's something that I don't usually do. I contacted my management in LA, but they obviously work different hours to me, and it's been Thanksgiving in the States, the 27th, 28th of November. Everyone was away from their office. And I just thought, it's fine. And I said to him, well, listen, just pay me double next week and I'll get my manager or whatever to send you over an invoice. But obviously I walked out before that, so I've not received any payment. He did say that he would consider paying me something at the end of the run. But, we all go to work to make a living, don't we? We don't go to work for free, and just to see if we could get paid in a few months' time.
I'm looking at the grids. For some reason, it says there isn't a show available to book online until Wednesday, so it looks like Monday and Tuesdays could be cancelled. It's saying contact the venue. I'm looking at Wednesday's grid, and it frankly is a disaster. If there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 on each block, he's sold 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, about 150 tickets in what looks like to be a 500 or 600 seater, is it? It looks pretty big.
Yeah, it's a pretty big venue, and I got to say...
Do we sit on the floor, or are there chairs?
I think there is chairs. Right. It's a very nice venue, I have to give it that. Right. So yeah, there is all of that going on. It is a really nice venue, but it's very restricted when it comes to seat views. So there's lots of seats within the arena that don't offer great views of the actual stage.
I was being slightly facetious because we do know that Joe struggles with getting set and costumes because he makes it public on Facebook, begging for them. So let's talk about last week then. Thursday, the day before you opened, presumably you'd done your tech run through, everything was in place, costumes, scenery was sorted, you were in dress rehearsal, and everything was going swimmingly.
No, that's not the case at all. I'd spent several days in the rehearsal room with the actors, or should I say other cast members, and a lot of them quite a few of them were very new to the panto scene and to theatre, to be honest. And I thought one of the reasons why Joe had brought me in was to try and give it that professional flair, to try and, guide the people that he'd cast in giving a wonderful performance, which is what I thought I was doing in rehearsals. In the rehearsal room, a couple of the actors were concerned about the fact they'd not had costumes. So that was getting brought to my attention quite early on.
Sorry, this is Thursday I'm talking about. I'm talking about the day before the show. Surely you can't have problems with costumes the day before the show's meant to be on stage.
We had problems on the day of the show, and right. Cinderella didn't even have a reveal dress on the day.
Nick, forgive me, I'm not being sarcastic, but Christmas only comes once a year. Surely Joe Purdy's had 9 months to get this all sorted. How is it possible that this has been left so late? Did he explain to you?
Well, he never explained anything to me. I was very upset. I mean, the actors were coming to me distraught. The actress playing Cinderella said, Nick, I'm riddled with anxiety. I'm online buying my own dresses here. And she actually was. And I actually said to her, you can't be doing that. If you do that, then you need to make sure you give the invoices to Joe Purdy and make sure that he reimburses you for them. They had no costumes. I mean, the Victoria Hall, they do their own amateur production and they have their own like little wardrobe department for their amateur productions. I had to go downstairs with the girl playing Cinderella and we had to choose something from their amateur wardrobe because she hadn't had a dress. I mean, Joe had promised her this Cinderella dress and the big reveal dress several weeks before before she even went to rehearsals, you know.
I'm just looking at his schedule, by the way. So Wednesday the 4th he's doing a 1:30, but he's cancelled the 6:30, and then Thursday the 5th he's doing a 10 a.m. but cancelled the 2 p.m. So I mean, this show is in absolute chaos. He's also cancelled Sunday the 15th. According to the schedule, there are now no performances between the 6th and the 15th of December. Was that always meant to be the case?
Well, to be fair, that was always meant to be the case because the venue had already got something else booked in those particular days. So that was part of the contract, to be honest. So
right. So far then, let's get this right. I'm trying to work out from his schedule. He thinks he's going to make money. We've cancelled 3 performances on Sunday, 11, 2 and 6. So he's 3 shows down there. He's cancelled Wednesday. I mean, this is a disaster, isn't it? He's cancelling half the shows that are booked in. 3 shows are cancelled this week, and the last show is on Wednesday. So,
well, I mean, the thing is, because I walked out I left on Saturday morning at 9:15 on Saturday morning was when I made the decision to leave the production. So I don't know if anything. I mean, to be honest, the cast were coming to me going, Nick, are we in shows this day or that day? Because he was swapping and changing lots of the shows around.
Were you on a buyout contract? Was everybody sort of had to be available for December and then he bought you out, or were you paid per show? How does it work with this production company?
Well, what he did with me personally, obviously not that's happened because I haven't been in receipt of any money. But I was going to be on a weekly salary for the 5 weeks. A total of 5 weeks. I was on a weekly salary, which had been, averaged out. And that's what was meant to be happening.
And I'm not going to ask you how much you're being paid, but were you able to buy sort of a luxury liner in the Pacific with this money? Or, I mean, what is he paying these guys? I notice his big star is a reviewer, Antonella. I've never heard of her.
They were really lovely to work with, and they were a dream to direct because, even though they were new to the panto scene, David and Nellie Antonella were extremely...
I'm sure they were, but you take my point that if you're an amateur production company who hasn't got costumes, to hire people who are not professional is not going to help your cause getting this on stage. You're making it hard work for everybody, aren't you? We have got Anne Nolan in there as well. Have any of these people been in touch, and how are they doing?
Listen, all the cast had concerns. I mean, I've got messages on my phone saying they've got concerns. I mean, I've had Joe Purdy now messaging me saying that I was... that I was victimising and bullying them, and when basically all I was doing was trying to rein it in and trying to get people who'd not done this before to be at a professional level.
And by the way, I find that really disingenuous when somebody leaves a production or leaves a show or leaves a radio station or whatever to suddenly start slagging them off and saying things like that. I don't want to even go there with you because it's not fair. I would ask Joe Purdy for a right of reply, but he's blocked me, so screw him. I don't need to. He's decided to take that approach. I've asked him very genuine questions over the years. For example, the Scotty T production. I mean, I was working with Viva in Blackpool at the time, and he cancelled those 3 shows because it barely sold a ticket. And again, nobody gets paid. It's no way to operate. I just want to know about the technicalities of the show. So is this a big set production or is it projection? How does he do it?
So what he does is he actually he has a screen on a stage, and the projections come from obviously the projector, and all of the backdrops, because obviously we have no fly flow, we have no rig, so the backdrops are projected onto this screen. But the first night of performances, which was Friday, we found out at about 5 to 5:30 p.m. that we had no projections. We also found out that we didn't have a working microphone for one of the actors. So it got to around 5:30. Oh, it was a nightmare. We got.
Hang on a minute. Whoa. We've got no microphones, we've got no set, and we've got no costumes.
Well, yes, in a pretty much way. And I called Joe at 5:30, roughly. I mean, he says it was about an hour before we opened. But I mean,
well, let's go with that. Okay, no, that's fine. All right, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But I mean, so we're on the day of the performance. We've got no projector, we've got no costumes, and we've got a cast that are amateur and need obviously all of your help. And his problem is what? What was his reaction?
Well, I called him, and he was in Liverpool at the time because he'd left the venue to go and get a mic for one of the actors because he didn't have a mic.
He'd left the venue to get a microphone on opening night?
He'd left the venue to get a microphone on opening night to go to Liverpool. So he drove all the way to Liverpool. I called him up, and the reason I called him was because the guy the venue manager said, "Where are the chaperones?" And I was like, well, I don't know. That's not my remit. I'm just directing the show, and I'm also starring in the show. So, you know, I've got the cast coming to me upset because there's no costumes. I've got the cast coming to me because there's no mics. And, you know, and apparently I'm bullying them all, and they're all victimised by me.
And by the way, that's only him saying that. That hasn't come from the cast themselves. He's saying that he thinks that, but the cast haven't approached you, or you weren't told at the time. We must make that very clear.
Well, I've made that very clear to him. You know, I mean, he said to me, they came to me with this. But yeah, I on the Saturday morning when I decided to walk out, I have a message from him saying, "Nick, everyone loves you and we all want you here. You've done wonderful for the show." And now all of a sudden I've walked out. I'm apparently, you know...
Would you mind sending us that? Because I'd like the public to see it. I think it's very, very important that, because I don't like people who change their story when things go wrong. It's not fair. So yeah,
I'm very happy to send that to you because I'm very hurt and upset by those allegations.
Well, I'm very hurt and upset for you and the other cast, and also the audience that were expecting a show this weekend. Let me ask you the question, how are you? It's not nice to know when you got 5 weeks of work that you're going to be sat at home watching Loose Women.
Well, I certainly probably, I mean, I don't need to watch Loose Women. I mean, number one, I've worked on that show. And number two, I'm good friends with half the girls on it, so I don't need to watch it.
And we all love. Anyway.
I speak to them all the time anyway.
I tell you what, I'd rather watch Loose Women than be in this mess. Good Lord, I think you've dodged a bullet at this point.
Tell me about it. I'll tell you what I will be doing, though. I'm sat here with my gorgeous best friend, Sue Devaney, who's a wonderful actress, very good friend of mine. She's been very supportive, and we're just chilling out, and I'm going to be booking my flight back home to LA to get back to my wonderful partner and my little baby dog. And I'm very, very excited about that. That's what I'm going to be doing. On
behalf of the industry, on behalf of pantomime, on behalf of show business, I just want to apologise. Nobody should be put in this position. I think what he does is disgusting. What he gets away with is appalling. The fact these venues allow him to do this year after year is unbelievable to me. I don't know how old this guy is. How old is he, by the way?
I don't know. I mean, he looked
12, 13.
12.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I say, I mean, I did wish him luck, but I gave that production my all, and I flew over from LA, where I live, and really wanted to sort of like spend time with friends and family in the UK. I had my partner flying out in a couple of weeks to spend Christmas here as well. Okay, let's see if we can do something at this point. Are you staying here now for Christmas? If there's a producer listening, and trust me, everybody in the industry will hear this by the end of the week. If there's work going, would you like to hear from people? Can they contact you, or are you done? Have you had enough now? Have you learnt your lesson? You're going to go back to LA to the sunshine? I think I'm an actor. I'm a jobbing actor. I'm always available for work when not working, you know. But I think this Christmas definitely I'm going to hang up the panto this year. I definitely don't want to do one this year. Well, but no, I've done. God, I think I'm on my 16th year of panto, doing them for First Family when they were around, and other major production companies. I'm just blown away that I was sucked into working for this amateur production company who's treated me appallingly.
Nick, I wish you'd have spoke to me a few months ago, because I've been after this guy for a while. I've seen him do this to others, friends of mine. I've approached him about it. I've been nice about it, and he gets away with it time and time again. And the money this guy wastes at venues, booking them and cancelling them, and disappointing fans who hope to go, and then they don't get a production, or it's half the production they were expecting. It gives everybody a bad name, and it's people like this that make show business the place you don't want to be. And it's so sad, because there's so many wonderful people in the business, but I'm sorry, it's got to stop. And these producers that are allowed to set up companies, go bankrupt, I'm not saying that's the case with Joe Purdy, but it happens all the time. It happened in Leeds, it happened in Newcastle. Every year we hear about talent being fucked by producers who just want to make money, rape people of their hard-earned cash, and then go back to doing what they do in January and fly off to Barbados while everybody else picks up the pieces. Is not acceptable, and it's disgusting, and I'm so sorry for you, and you deserve better. That's all I want to say.
Well, thank you, Alex. And again, I want to apologise there's hundreds of people actually booked tickets to come and see this show because they support me and they followed me around the UK and everything that I've done. I'm mortified because I do feel that I've let those people down, but I can't work under certain conditions. For health and safety reasons, he'd never even booked any stewards.
So was he expecting Anne Nolan to perhaps chaperone people to their seats?
Who knows what he was expected to do? But for me, from a health and safety point of view, there needs to be people in the venue, for fire regulations, that kind of thing. I can't work under those conditions. I'm a professional. I've been in the business a long time, and I refuse to work under those conditions. And if he doesn't pay me, then whatever, that's his thing. I can sleep at night knowing that, no, I didn't bully anyone or victimize anyone or, sexually harass anyone or anything like that. Certainly not. These are all silly allegations that he's trying to make just because he wants to find a way of attacking me, because I did leave. If he would have cancelled the show when I told him to cancel the first night, maybe we could have got everything up and running, and we could have opened on Saturday and just missed one show and tried to get the show where I thought it needed to be.
From a pro's point of view, can I ask you a question? How did you get through Friday night with all the stuff that was going on in your head and around you, and the lack of costumes and set and scenery and projection, and the fact that you're having to share microphones, all of this nonsense? How do you even get through a show like that?
Alex, I got through it I don't know, but my anxiety was through the roof throughout the whole of that performance, and I knew that people couldn't hear the show. I was watching audience members stand up and walk out. I was mortified, and I was sitting in what they call a dressing room, which was practically a little chapel underneath the stage.
Sounds like that Ken Dodd gag, doesn't it? I'm here in my dressing room while my nail...
Yes, exactly. I was sitting there, and I was very, very quiet, to the point where people were going, Nick, you're quiet. I was finding it hard to actually catch my breath. I was that riddled with anxiety. It was the worst experience
And
ever.
One final question about that. Any apology from Joe that night? Congratulations for getting through. I shouldn't have put you in this position. Is there any of that?
Nothing. You know what? There wasn't even anything of, Alex, but it just shows how unprofessional it is. It's at least producers or directors or anyone give their cast members a card, or come round and see people before the show and say, listen guys, thank you so much, let's go on and give it a good one. Joe Purdy was in a car getting a microphone for an actor that was ridiculous when he turned up with it anyway.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. If you've got more stories about Joe Purdy, I'm out to get him. I'm disgusted by this industry that covers up for these people. The stage now are useless. They don't stand up, and they don't stand on the side of talent. They'd rather write press releases, which I'm not interested in. If you've got more stories about Joe Purdy, I want to hear from you. alex@alexbelfield.co.uk. We are on to you, Joe, and we're not going to let go. I want to apologise to you, Nick, on behalf of an industry that really is here to support each other. You should never have been put in this situation, and I'm so sorry. And if we can do anything to help, if anybody's got a gig or something for next year, get in contact with us and we'll put you in touch with Nick. No problem at all. Try and have a Merry Christmas, and I'm sorry that you've been through this, and enjoy the sunshine back in LA.
I will do, Alex. And listen, thank you very much. And It's just one of those things, but
It's not one of those things. It could have been avoided. He could have had some class and admitted he wasn't up to the job and hadn't got the show ready to put on. He could have pre-cancelled everybody. He could have admitted that there was a problem. Instead, every year he pretends everything's okay and somehow next year books another panto. It blows my fucking mind. I don't know what this guy's on, but he should be ashamed of himself. But we're on to him. We're going to get to the bottom of this, Nick. So thank you very much.
No, thank you, Alex. I really appreciate it. And you have a great Christmas season yourself.